We are back with more DM's Guild review. This time, we're going to be covering Elminster's Candlekeep Companion, a book module that just came out on the 28th, so yesterday, and is already a best Electrum seller, and has feedback from the man himself, Ed Greenwood. If you want to see what this is about, or my thoughts on it, stay tuned. You can't have it. It's mine. Get it? I'm gonna keep the candle. Anyway, what's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and let's jump right over to the DM's Guild to take a look. So here it is. Here it is, $14.95. So there is something to consider. It is in PDF only. This would be one that I would prefer to get in print on demand. Were that an option? It's not. So it is what it is. And I said feedback from Ed Greenwood, but he actually is a consultant and a writer on this book as well. I believe this is also the first book that ever has like the full map of Candlekeep, or the first time it's ever been like all in one place. And it is an extensive document. We are going to go through it. It's 80, like I said, I think it's 84 pages. And I'm going to give you a little bit from each different section. I do have some thoughts. I was given a copy of this for review purposes as well, so let me throw that out up front. But it will not tarnish my review of it one way or another, and you'll see that when we get there. So again, they mentioned a lot about Elminster, right? That's Ed Greenwood's character, and developed by the man himself. So as you can see, what it's going to give you here, developed in consultation with him, new variant rules, 26 magic items, 11 new creatures, as well as 34 new spells. And I actually do like that it really synergizes well with other products put out on the DM's Guild. Now, that may be just because some of the folks who wrote it also wrote other things that are in the same realm of this, and that may be why. But let's just go ahead and jump over and take a look. So you see there is art. The art style kind of bug, like it looks off to me sometimes. Other times I think it looks really good. That's just a small nitpick. But here again, you can see all these folks involved, right? And I've reviewed and worked with some of these other folks in the past. And again, some of these should be familiar to all of you. So we have our little forward here from Elminster. Small nitpick, right? You could have probably, I think you can format in a PDF to have a page be, one page be different than the other. So if we just go ahead and change it, you can see this is a very nice and colorful map. Just something about it I don't like, and I can't really put my finger on it. It just it seems like something you might find in the real world in like Faerun. I think I don't like the text over here, like the way it's written. I feel like it's very hard to it's harder to read than it should be. All right, you can see here's the overall high view of Candlekeep, and then there's sort of the view on the side that shows the caves and everything beneath up here in the top. Because if you don't know, Candlekeep is absolutely massive. There is so much stuff there. It is the world's biggest library in Faerun, but you could spend days there, months there even, and never see all of it, especially because you can see how much there is underground. But either way, having the map is a nice feature. Let us move on. So here's our table of contents, right? What are we going to get? So we have our map. It's a section about Candlekeep itself. Welcome to it. There are new character options. I think I'm going to go through the Bard because I think that's the only one that I really liked that didn't seem off to me, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The Library Fortress here, different sections in Candlekeep. I like the Downtime section as well. There's some good rules there. There's obviously stuff about the library itself, and I like the section on books. I thought that was pretty nice. There are a series of adventures, one, Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus Director's Cut is an adventure specifically designed for Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, like the name suggests. The other ones, though, are more like seeds of adventure rather than like a full written adventure, and I kind of like that better because it lets you make your own, but it gives you prompts. Magic items and spells. We'll go through a couple of the magic items and a couple of the spells that I think are unique and worth mentioning. And then lastly, there's a couple of... I really don't think the generic NPCs are really anything to write home about in my mind, but there are a couple creatures in the Bestiary / Guardian section that I think I'd like to showcase as well. So let's go ahead, and here's a little breakdown again of how to use this book, about the different chapters. 5 things to know about Candlekeep. I would recommend, if you're ever going to run a game in the Forgotten Realms and anyone's going to go to Candlekeep, if you read at least this 5 things at the beginning, these will be very useful to you. And one of the things, probably one of the major things that everybody needs to know, is you only gain entrance in to Candlekeep if you provide a piece of literature and knowledge that is not already contained within the library. Which means it's not something you can easily get into or out of, in theory, right? You have to have something specific. Now, maybe you are a wizard or a minstrel or something, and you can pen that yourself, and then therefore that is something that Candlekeep has never seen before because you wrote it. Something to consider. If you're doing plane hopping, maybe you can get something from another plane. And then there's a very in-depth history here all about Candlekeep, its creation, the different times it's been infiltrated, the different groupings and people within it, and then we move on to character options. So here's another one of those things where I was telling you, like, the art, like, some of it looks good to me and some of it looks a little off. A small nitpick, but so we're going to do the Bard College of Destiny because I think that's the one that makes the most sense to me and doesn't feel as funky and off. So I'll talk a little bit about it. So at 3rd level, you're going to get proficiency with 1 skill or tool and proficiency with all ranged martial weapons, something we've never seen before, but I like it. You also get Inspiring Prediction, and I guess the best way I could describe this is a bard that is a divination wizard, or a divination bard, if you will. So when someone gets a bardic inspiration die from you, they roll the die immediately, and they denote that number. When they choose to use their bardic inspiration die later on, they can either roll the die as normal or use the number they rolled, their choice. And either way, it's lost, right? So if you have a D8 inspiration die and you roll it and you roll a 7, then you could say, okay, well, when it's my turn and I want to use this bardic inspiration, I can either add 7 to my roll or roll the D8. Obviously, in that case, you'll probably take the 7 because the only chance you're going to get better is if you roll an 8. But if you roll like a 3, then maybe it's in the middle, or you roll really low up front, then you can choose to take the die roll itself later on. Also, it seems like all of these subclasses follow like the newest Unearthed Arcana philosophy, where everybody gets a lot of stuff at the early levels. Like you get like 3 different subset features in your subclass at level 3, or your first level, and then less. You get a standard going forward. I'm not sure whether that's right or wrong because we don't know if those new Unearthed Arcana will be published as we saw them. But you also get Magic of Destiny. You get 1 cantrip from the following list: Blade Ward, Guidance, Intent Laid Bare, Jinx Shot, Sword Burst, Toll the Dead, True Strike, a Voice of Battle, or Vicious Mockery. And you can see some things are distinguished whether in the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, Xanathar's Guide, or reprints from Blackstaff's Book of 1,000 Spells, which is a DM's Guild product. And then you also get a 1st level spell of your choice: Cause Fear, Comprehend Languages, Detect Magic, Detect Evil and Good, Detect Poison and Disease, Identify, Misdirected Mark, Prophesize, Strike, or Speak with Animals. They count as spells, bard spells for you, and don't count against your spells, no. 6, you get Virtue of Prescience. When an attack roll is made against a creature that has a Bardic Inspiration die from you, it can use its reaction to roll the Bardic Inspiration die and add the number rolled to its AC against that attack after seeing the attack roll, but before knowing whether it hits or misses. Additionally, when they choose to do that, they can either use the previously recorded die from your Inspiring Prediction feature or roll the die. So this is interesting because I think a Valor Bard at level 3 gets the ability to give people the roll to their AC. You don't get this to level 6, but yeah, I don't know. They can use their reaction to do it. The only difference is it's modified by Inspiring Prediction, so that one feels a little weak to me. And then at 14, when a creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die or uses its recorded die roll from the Inspiring Prediction feature, you can use your reaction to make 1 ranged weapon attack. The attack inflicts extra damage equal to the creature's Bardic Inspiration die roll, If the attack targets a creature within 5 feet of the creature that you rolled, that rolled your die, you have advantage on the attack roll. You don't really have reactionary attacks as a bard, so that one kind of made sense. Like I said, level 6 feels a little off, feels a little weak, especially considering existing classes can do this exact thing and they get it at level 3. I'm going to skip over the prophecy domain. I don't like it. A lot of these seem to be overly complicated for the purposes of being unique, and I don't agree with that mentality where things have like so much stuff or have to have some unique mechanic that is something different. That, I mean, whether or not it's lore based, it just seems to me like it would just add more complexity, which will turn people off to it, especially given 5th edition's kind of simplistic mentality. So the big thing with this one is this Oracle's Burden is you choose one, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different options, and it basically gives you some sort of detriment, and you get a benefit for it. Like one of them is you can't speak above a whisper, but it gives you a bonus to some rolls. And then Monk, Way of the Avowed Preserver, again, felt like it was kind of going to be a good like knowledge-based monk because you get access to spells and, you know, lore stuff about remembering books that you read. But then there's this like weird thing about teleportation, and if you're near a library, you can teleport more, and then you just keep getting additional spells, and then you can make additional attacks against additional creatures with this 5-star strike, which felt kind of similar to what the Drunken Master could do. And then the academic lore one was added a whole new subsystem called Dwemercrafts, which is like a whole new thing on top of all your base wizard stuff. Also, a weird thing, you could take like elemental damage and turn it into poison damage, which why would you ever want to take a spell that does acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, radiant, or thunder damage and choose to turn it to poison? One of the most resisted types of damage in the game seemed weird to me. And then, you know, again, they're just adding more reserves. They're giving you this spell pool, and then you can see here's your Dwemercraft options, which is essentially almost like invocations or Battlemaster maneuvers. It's just adding more complexity to the wizard, a class that already has a ton of options. Seems unnecessary to me. Then we have the Library Fortress chapter, which again, we have our whole section about entering. There's a lot of the tables in here are really good, right? Like this table is, why did you come to Candlekeep? There's a section about entrance gifts and how to get in. There's a little bit of lore about like what will be read to them once they gain entrance, if they do so. Here are some options for entrance gifts. To give you examples, I mean, you could give somebody one of these. Someone could give them this to enter in. And it talks a little bit about the different areas of Candlekeep, because there's a lot, as you saw from the map. The different towers, what the different towers are made of, which is really cool lore, right? Like one's made from a metal found in Avernus, another one's made from the preserved insides of a red dragon. One is just basically full of sweets. Let's see. We have our different, transitions, because there's like weird teleportation and that kind of stuff within Candlekeep. So here's again different landmarks and things if you're trying to remember where you were, how to navigate Candlekeep. I told you there was a section on downtime in Candlekeep. Here it is right here. It says you can basically do some of the stuff that's in Xanathar's, but they have additional things for doing research in Candlekeep. So it gives you some ideas of what your topics might be and what skill you would use. Here are the skill checks you would need to make. And then they do give you a nice little sidebar here about how to make downtime, just like rather than a mechanical thing, a lore character building moment. And then it says, in addition to lore, research in Candlekeep provides a character with 1 or 2 lasting benefits, which I also like this aspect. A character who can choose from the following benefits, which last for a number of weeks equal to their intelligence modifier. If the benefit grants a character a spell, they can cast it without expending a spell slot, but it requires the material components. Intelligence is the casting modifier for this. So, right, like Arcanist, you learn 1 cantrip. Hunter, once per long rest, you can either use the locate object spell or locate creature spell, and so on. So that's cool, because it's just like you're in such a magical place, learning so much. It provides you more than just the research that you wanted. You might even learn how to pick up a spell or 2. And then, again, complications tied to the downtime, just like we learned about in Xanathar's, as well as rivals. breakdowns of the Avowed and their hierarchy. Again, like this art here, something just bugs me about the art. I don't know what it is. Just something seems a little off. Again, more about the internal, about how to gain special access, obtaining lore, how to treat books, because that's very important to them. This I thought was really interesting, was this variant rule of the training manual. So it states in the player's handbook that there are rules in there for learning a new language or a tool proficiency. Here, they give you the opportunity to basically buy a book called a training manual, 250 gold pieces, and either focuses on one language or tool proficiency. If you spend 48 hours over a period of 6 days or fewer studying the material and practicing its guidelines, you gain proficiency in that tool. You need to maintain the book, and you need to have it in your possession to continue to character lore wise continue to freshen up on that to read it. And it says if you're ever without it for 5 or more days, you lose proficiency in this because it's been out of your, you haven't been able to refresh your memory on it. I like that. I think I'll be implementing those in my campaign for sure. And then here is the section I was going to say, here's the non-magical books of Candlekeep. And I really like this because it's just like, well, what books would your characters want to read? And I like that it gives you, some of them are also tied to other DMs Guild products, right? So this one, the Sword Coast, it'll tell you to grab this chapter from the Sword Coast Adventures Guide. This one will tell you like what you get from the Monster Manual. This is from Volo's Guide. Callum Shan gives you chapter 2 from the Callum Shan's Adventures Guide on the DM's Guild. This one gives you part from Amarun's Almanac of the Underdark. This one gives you stuff to the Malady Codex. It is the Malady Codex, the book, the module I've mentioned before and reviewed in the past, right? We have another one on here, I thought there was another one on here from the DM's Guild. Maybe I was wrong. Well, either way, still very cool stuff. And then we get into adventures. Again, this chick bothers me. The art bugs me. I don't know what it is, but so we have some ideas. So I thought it would be interesting to just roll, right? So let's see. What is our introductory adventure? We're going to get 7. Okay, into the Far Realm. A gnome wizard approaches the characters and offers to pay them to be part of their experiments in one of the towers of Candlekeep. The wizard claims they've discovered a way to teleport creatures into and out of the Far Realm. That's a pretty cool adventure seed. To conclude the adventure, you need an inspiring climax. The following adventure climaxes table ensures you and your players are engrossed in the magnificent story in Candlekeep. And let's see what our climax is. 9, an inside job. Everything thus far has been an elaborate diversion devised by skilled thieves seeking to steal valuable books and treasures from Candlekeep. The characters have moments to stop the thieves and their devious plot. Again, very cool stuff. And that also has a section here like maybe you are in Candlekeep and they've hired you to seek out lore to bring back to them. And there's a couple of tables here, right? So some of them are the tomes that increase your ability scores, Manual of Golems, a Tome of Still Tongue, and then recover and return either the Book of Vile Darkness or the Book of Exalted Deeds. What would be interesting would be like if you recovered the Tome of Understanding, could you read it before you brought it back to them so you get the magical benefit of it? Nothing says you couldn't. Here's where your different leads could be to go on those expeditions. And then there are prophecies from Alondo. There's a big section about like in the beginning there was 70 years worth of prophecies that this prophet recorded, and they seem to mostly be true. So maybe you are involved in one of the prophecies. We'll roll our D12 here. 3, those from beyond. Here's the prophecy. The great ones shall make themselves known before the champions of shared blood, lock them away for all eternity. And then again, you could build a story from there. I'm not going to really read through the section from Baldur's Gate Descent to Avernus because 1, spoilers for a relatively new adventure, and 2, I haven't played it, so maybe I'll get a chance to do something like that. I did think it was interesting. They do tie in the ghost dragon that guards the lower halls of Candlekeep, and there's this unicorn grove, and they mention a what do they call it? A creamy flanked unicorn with a lustrous tangerine mane who calls, you may call me unicorn or uni, and I believe that's a reference to the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon Uni the unicorn, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, then we get on to the magic items and spells. There are a lot of magic items in here and spell books and things that are very tied to like preserving books and things that prevent things from being destroyed or water damaged and so on. Those are really cool. in like role play and story wise, they're not the most flashy thing to talk about in a video like this. Also, every magic item in here gives you a fat stack of lore at the start of it before you actually get into the mechanics. So I'll give you the Angel Steel Shield right here. So like almost all of this is lore, but it's a very rare shield. While holding it, you gain a bonus to your AC equal to half your proficiency bonus. So this is basically a +1 shield at the start that levels up to eventually be a +3 shield at the end, and it kind of grows with you, which I do like. Additionally, it has 3 charges, regains daily at dawn. As a reaction, when a creature within 5 feet of you fails a saving throw or is hit by an attack, you can expend 1 charge to give them a bonus equal to possibly saving them. The bonus that you grant equals your proficiency bonus. Once a charge is expended, you can't do so again for another minute. So it's useful, but you're likely only going to be able to do it once per combat. But in theory, you could be adding someone +6 to a saving throw or AC towards the end of the game there. What else ones? I like the Boots of Other Paths because they're non-attunement uncommon. These boots have 4 charges. You can expend 1 charge as a bonus action to take the dash action. When you do so until the start of your next turn, your movement is unaffected by difficult terrain, and your speed can't be reduced by spells or other magical effects. The boots regain a D4 expended charges each day at dawn. Those would be a super useful pair of boots for pretty much anybody, as long as you're not like a rogue or a monk, where you can dash normally as bonus action. Anybody could make very good use of these, I'm sure. I like the concept here of the Egg of Death. It's like a dragonborn egg. I'm not going to read the rules on it specifically here, but basically when you smash it, it makes an exact duplicate of you, but as a corpse. So that could be a really useful thing, or like a really good plot hook for an adventure, where it looks exactly as you look when you smash the egg. And like now there's just a corpse of you there. Like, oh, you want to fake your own death. You want to use it as a way to get out of being, for whatever. That's a way you could do that. And I thought that was pretty neat. I like the idea of these 2 tomes that are basically books that increase your spellcasting. Like we have +1 weapons and things. This is a book. This one increases your spell save DC and spell attack bonuses by the amount. So it's +1, +2, +3. The fact that it gives you +1 to both, and the fact that Wand of the War Mage exists, which gives you a +1, +2, or +3 to spell attack rolls, and this gives you that, but also spell save DC and another feature, and it's still uncommon, rare, and very rare, seems to be a little off on the balance side in my mind, but cool nonetheless, as does the Magic Tome. Like the Rod of Flame Extinguishing is basically a magical fire extinguisher, which is good when you're in a room full of books. Self-Same Bones were cool. They're basically a one-time use that gives you the equivalent of an Echo Knight's Echo that they get from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. I think that's probably all I'm going to go over here. Yeah, so we're going to skip ahead to the spells. You can see there are several new spells, and they even give them for artificers here as well. I'm not going to go over all of them because they're also, a lot of them are alliterative, which is fine. I like to create item as a cantrip, right? It lasts as a bonus action, it lasts up to an hour, and you can summon 1 piece of adventuring gear worth 2 gold pieces or less that you can hold in one hand. It weighs less than 10 pounds. If it's more than 10 feet away from you, at the end of your turn, it ends. The object can simulate the effects of that tool a tool that requires proficiency, but it can only be used to make 1 ability check for a task that takes 1 round or less, after which time the spell ends. Anyone who holds the item or examines it can closely tell it's not real. I'm sure there's a ton of times where someone wanted, like, you needed an item that was 2 gold pieces or less, and you just needed it for 1 thing, and then you could get rid of it. That's a cool cantrip. I enjoy that. What else did I like here? I think I liked most of the cantrips. I thought were some of my favorites. Jinx Shot here is a ranged. It's basically similar to like a Booming Blade or a Green Flame Blade, but with a ranged weapon attack rather than a melee attack. So you make a ranged weapon attack as part of the casting of the spell. If you hit a creature, it has disadvantage on the next attack roll it makes before the start of your next turn. The attack misses, it fails, and then as it goes up, it just deals extra damage. At 5th level, it does a D4 psychic damage. It does 2d4 at 11th level and 3d4 at 17th, but still in providing that disadvantage. Let's see. Is there another one I liked here? Phantom Scribe was interesting. It's just like any words spoken out loud within range automatically appear written on the object's pages. So you basically can use it to be like a quick quotes quill from Harry Potter. Thought that was neat. Shockwave, I thought was an interesting one because it's an let me read it to you. It's an invocation spell, range of 150 feet. It's basically like a fireball, but for use in crowded areas. So each creature within a 20-foot radius sphere centered on you must make a Constitution saving throw. They take 66 force damage on a failed save and half on a success. But the kicker here, when you cast this spell, you can choose to knock creatures unconscious instead of killing them. When you do so, any creature that that this spell reduces to 0 hit points falls unconscious and is stable, which is the only time you can really knock someone unconscious with a spell. So that I thought was pretty cool. And again, it can be upcast to deal more damage. Voice of Battle. I mean, there's a couple good ones here, right? Like Stolen Step, Voice of... The cantrips were really good in my mind. And then as far as the creatures, I like this Tome Guardian, right? It's basically... this is... I mean, it's an elemental. It's almost like a tree-type creature here. Challenge rating 6. And let's see. Magical runes inscribed on the tome creature's frame possess the ability to replicate a random spell scroll each day. Roll a d6 to determine what the spell is. Hypnotic Pattern, Dispel Magic, Lightning Bolt, Fly, Major Image, or Slow. And it can also absorb spells. I like the concept of bookworms as like a nuisance. Like they're eating the books. Yeah, they delight into digesting fresh parchment, age scrolls, and valuable tomes. One bookworm is a nuisance, but a swarm can threaten entire libraries if allowed to multiply undisturbed. You can see here they can devour parchment, they can sense magical books, they have disadvantage on stealth checks among scrolls and books. Here's stats for the ghost dragon that lives beneath Candlekeep. And then I think... was that it? I believe so. Yeah. So that was it, folks. I just wanted to run through a quick, relative... I mean, it's a half an hour, right? That's quick for me, I guess, in a DM's Guild review. There's a lot there, though, 84 pages to go through. But it is one of the best resources for Candlekeep, if not the best resource for Candlekeep. Not only are you getting everything you need to know to take care of that location if your players decide to go there, as well as cool lore, interesting stuff, the history, a map, player options, new spells and new creatures. It's definitely good. It's a meaty document. It's got the source material and consultations from Ed Greenwood, who developed Candlekeep in the first place as part of developing the Forgotten Realms. So I'm thank you again to the folks who created it for sending me a copy for review. Let me know what you all think in the comments. Are you going to pick this up for yourself? Have you already done it? I mean, it did sell very quickly. As I stated, I think probably one of the weaker parts in it is some of the subclasses. They just felt too much to me. And like, don't get me wrong, I have no problem playing very complex characters or complex subclasses, but it didn't really jive in my mind with what 5th edition is. But you know, maybe I'm wrong and you all love it. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Once again, a shout out to all my patrons on Patreon. Thank you for doing what you do and supporting the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. And then if you want to stay up to date on my different videos that I put out, make sure to ring the notification bell as well. I've been basically trying to do a video every day for the entirety of quarantine, sometimes multiple videos in a day, to give you guys stuff to, help take your mind off of the world that we're in right now. And hey, I guess aliens are real. That's, confirmed by the government. So that's a thing. That's also going on in the world. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.